Welcome back to another interesting episode of our series. Last week we saw what a galaxy means. A combination of white dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes, dust and gas particles, and vast amounts of matter. Now one might wonder if there is anything else floating around in the universe. The universe is infinite in some sense. We can't even imagine the boundaries of the universe. So today we'll take a look at all types of objects that can be found in space in quite large numbers. We'll be limiting the scope to all the celestial objects observed in our own solar system. Let's start with a star. How is a star born? It all starts with clouds of gases in galaxies, otherwise known as nebula. A typical nebula may be many light years across and may contain enough mass to make several thousand stars. The majority of the gas in nebulous clouds consists of hydrogen and helium, but there are other heavier atoms as well. A star is formed when atoms of light elements are squeezed under enough pressure for their nuclei to undergo fusion. Once the fusion reactions begin, they exert outward pressure. As long as the inward force of gravity and the outward force generated by the fusion are equal, the star remains stable. Due to the fusion reactions, stars are able to emit light. These heavier atoms are remnants of old stars which exploded long ago in an event that we call a supernova. Irregularities in the density of the gas cause a net gravitational force that pulls the gas molecules together and eventually result in collapsing. Our closest star is of course the Sun, which is nearly 4.603 billion years old. The closest star to the Sun is Proxima Centauri, nearly 4.853 billion years old, and is nearly 4.25 light years away from our Sun. Next in line is a planet. Planets are the result of particles forming together from a disk of gas and dirt. They collide and stick together as they orbit the star and eventually take the shape of a planet. The unique shape of planets is a product of the gravitational force exerted by the dominant star in the system. The planets closer to the star tend to be rockier, like Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and planets farther away from the star tend to be gas giants like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. The temperature also drops as we move farther away from the orbiting star. Another interesting fact about our solar system is that on average the stars in our galaxy tend to have 1-2 planets per star. As compared to that, our solar system has 8. Next are moons. Moons are comparatively smaller bodies that revolve around a planet. Moons can be formed in different ways. Some moons can form along with the parent planet at the same time, like how the Galilean moons of Jupiter formed along with Jupiter. Moons can also be the result of collisions between the planet and other objects, like how our moon, Luna, is thought to have formed. Moons can be the result of gravitational force of a planet to become moon-like. For example, Mars' two small asteroid-like moons, Phobos and Deimos. Moons are normally responsible for tidal effects observed on a planet. Comets are cosmic snowballs of frozen gases, rocks, and dust that orbit the Sun. It is believed that comets materialized more than 4.5 billion years ago from the dust and gas surrounding our newborn star. Far away from the Sun's heat, fine grains of dust coated with frozen gases and water ice began clumping together. Over time, they turn into ice-rich rocks, which later evolved into bodies that we observe today. When a comet's orbit brings it close to the Sun, it heats up and spews dust and gases into a giant glowing head larger than most planets. The dust and gases form a tail that stretches away from the Sun for millions of miles. To make the vacuum of space a little less lonely, there are in fact billions of comets orbiting the Sun. Halley's Comet is one of the most popular names in the world of comets. Asteroids are small, rocky objects that orbit the Sun. Although they orbit the Sun like planets, they are much smaller than planets. Asteroids are the leftovers from the formation of our solar system about 4.6 billion years ago. Early on, the birth of Jupiter prevented any planetary bodies from forming in the gap between Mars and Jupiter, causing the small objects that were there to collide with each other and fragment into the asteroids seen today. The main difference between an asteroid and a comet is their composition. Asteroids are made up of metals and rocky materials, while comets are made up of ice, dust, and rocky materials. Sometimes asteroids can collide with each other. This causes small pieces of asteroids to break off. These small pieces are known as meteoroids. Meteoroids can come from comets as well. If a meteoroid comes too close to the Earth, it gets pulled in by the gravitational pull of the planet, forcing it to enter the atmosphere of Earth, resulting in it burning up, evaporate, and turns into a streak of light in the sky known as meteor. If it does not completely burn off before hitting the surface, then the remnants of the rock are known as meteorites. There are many more real or hypothesized objects outside of our solar system. Some have been found in numbers and some have never been found. Stay tuned as next week we'll be back with another interesting video.